essential Christian messages of doctrine coherent?
If you define coherent as something which is conceivable, you can think it. It's possible to think the idea. Yes.
Now, if I say, I believe somebody says God exists and doesn't exist at the same time, would that be logically coherent?
No, it's not logically coherent to think that he exists and not exists at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So either exists or not exists.
Yeah. So the Christian message, do you find it logically coherent? Because I don't. I'm a Muslim, and I find, in fact, most of the doctrines of Christianity, the Orthodox Christianity, they're not coherent. Using your words, logically coherent. Instead, many of the heresies that has gone by in history, they make more coherent sense than Orthodox Christian doctrines.
Then I disagree with you on that matter.
Okay.
I think that...
So give me examples of your main doctrines and how they're coherent, rather than me telling you what I find. Maybe I'm not looking at the right doctrines. So what are your main core doctrines of the gospel message?
I would believe that God created the heavens and the earth. Yeah.
Okay.
That He's the creator, that He creates us in His image. He wants a relationship with us. That God is love by nature. So He's not just loving, but He is love. I would believe that there was a fall. Yeah. So sin came into the world. That would be number 2. I would believe that that Jesus came down and died for our sins. Jesus is God. I believe in one being, 3 persons, which is God. And I believe that He's going to destroy evil and fix the earth, because the earth was destroyed, kind was destroyed, and He's one day gonna fix it.
Okay.
So one day He's coming back. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Basically, I've spoken to a lot of Christians and Muslims, right? And according to the Islamic theology, right? Like, for example, and for me, I want to know, like, what's your evidence to prove that, like, Muhammad was this true prophet, just true amazing guy?
Yeah,
what evidence? Like, for example, like, apparently, like, even Prophet Muhammad, he said that he went. I don't know what was that cave that he got that revelation from. What was the cave?
Cave Hira.
Hira. Like, but no one was there when he got that revelation from Angel Gabriel. So how would you know that, you know, he got this revelation from this Angel Gabriel when he was the only person there to get that revelation? Like, how no one was there, like, there was no witnesses, no one was there when he got those revelations from the Quran, right? So how would you know that? What's the proof or evidence to prove that, you know, Muhammad actually did got this revelation, the Quran, from this Angel Gabriel?
Brilliant question. I mean, I think there's few things that we need to clarify. In the cave of Hira, that was the first revelation, which is about 5 verses or 5 ayat of the Quran. That was it. All the subsequent revelation didn't happen there in the cave. It happened elsewhere, in front of people, in front of his family, and so on and so forth. At one point, when revelation was descending on him, he was on a camel or a horse, and the horse or camel could be seen descending on the sand, going down, depressed on the sand, because of the weight and loftiness of the revelation. This is all in our narrations. So the question is about eyewitness testimony. The first revelation, of course, he was alone. Yeah, but it wasn't that the whole Quran was somehow revealed in a cave. No, that was the first 5 verses out of 6,000 or so verses of the Quran, right? Okay. How do we know Prophet Muhammad is a prophet or not is a very important question to ask, because more than 1/5, it's like 1/5 to 1/4 of population of this world is a Muslim, believes in him as a messenger of God, a prophet of God. So there has to be something.
But just because 1/5 of the population.
No, I'm saying why it's important question to ask. Because if 1/4 of the population of the earth believes in Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it's only reasonable to ask why so. That's all I'm asking. It doesn't prove that he's a prophet. No. It only makes the importance of the question being asked is important. Yeah, it's very important. Right. What we say is, he is a prophet not of his own making. God chose him to be a prophet and established through him proofs and evidences for his prophethood. Okay? So his own self as a person, as his own character, testifies to that event of prophethood. Because a prophet, you expect, start from the scratch. What would be the characteristics of when God chooses a prophet or a messenger? Yeah? A prophet and a messenger is someone who's going to convey a message to the people from God. So they are the spokesperson of God to communicate a message to the people. So you would expect the messenger to have certain characteristics, obviously. So if the messenger, one of the characteristics of the messenger is this prophet of the messenger, or this particular warner or glad tider who gives glad tidings, someone who is of a very bad character, someone who lies, someone he is not truthful, someone who's not trustworthy, if that person comes along and says, God has made me a prophet, you would not believe in him, because you know this person doesn't speak the truth.
He has more wives, several wives, and wives who are very...
How would having 2 wives or 3 wives somehow make you not a prophet of God or make you not a truthworthy? We'll come to this point.
Or
okay.
a 9-year-old.
Let me address this about marriages. When Abraham married a slave girl like Hagar, so that was his second wife, because she was given as a wife to Abraham.
Yeah, but it was your point. It wasn't mine.
No, please. I'm just saying, if marrying more than one or marrying someone old or young is a reason to question the prophethood of a prophet, then we need to address this point. So let's talk about Abraham and all the other prophets in the Old Testament in the Jewish times. Solomon, for example, he had 700 or so concubines. Now, does that somehow remove him from his office of prophethood from God's eyes? I don't think so. Abraham, the patriarch of Jewish, Christian and Muslim people, right? Our 3 religions, we call him the patriarch. Now, he had more than 1 wife. Now, and in fact, that was a slave woman that was given, right? Does that somehow take him away from his prophethood? Does it?
Is your point that Muhammad in some kind of way was a very moral being, righteous being? Is that your point?
I've already alluded to the character. The character is important, but in terms of
is that the evidence that he's a prophet, that he was a righteous being? And then you're saying that to marry a 9-year-old is not something wrong.
You seem to have a problem with marrying someone young, maybe someone old. So let's address that.
I do.
Let's address that.
But
okay. No, let's address that first. Okay. Anyone to be a prophet of God, if someone marries a 14-year-old, would that be an obstacle to become a prophet? Or someone who marries, in fact, okay, why am I just asking a rhetorical question? Do you know, in Jewish teaching, you should get married before the age of 15. For 14 years old, you should get married. All the marriages in the past in the Jewish traditions were before the age of the 14.
It doesn't matter. You're making the point that Muhammad was a righteous person. I'm not saying that you need to be a righteous person to be a prophet. That was your words, if I understand you correctly. If I didn't understand
I did not.
Correctly,
okay, fine.
Explain for me what you were trying to say by saying that Muhammad was a righteous person. Because I can't see it like he was a man of warfare. Like in my eyes,
sure. Is warfare another obstacle? Fine. Another point.
If you would have said that you don't have to be a righteous person, then it would be no problem.
Okay,
but
let's address that point.
That's what you wanted to do.
Let's address that point. Remember what I said. His character also testifies to the office of prophethood. But I said, as God chooses someone to be a prophet, he did not make himself a prophet. So God chooses whom he places his
then he asks
message.
For the evidence.
If you see, one second. I was just explaining that the prophet didn't make him a prophet. God makes him a prophet and gives proofs and evidence of his prophethood and messengership. That's what I said. I have not shared you any of those proof and evidences. Okay. Instead, what I said, even his character points to his being a prophet. And I said, let's understand this from the scratch. A prophet, to be a prophet of God, there has to be certain characteristics that they should uphold. If that prophet, one who's claiming to be a prophet, was a liar, Would you trust this individual to be a prophet of God? Was my question. I give you an example. If someone comes along and is known to their people, the society at that time, that person cheats, lies, is untrustworthy, not truthful, would anyone place a trust in that person to be God's spokesperson?
No.
I would say no. So essentially what we are saying is, one of the important characteristics of a prophet has to be being truthful and being trustworthy. Now, Prophet Muhammad...
Isn't another characteristic that, like,
there are many...
for example, that you have seen God and actually spoken directly to God.
Remember,
isn't that also one
we are establishing...
Isn't that also one of the characteristics that...
Let's have a look.
I would think so, yeah.
Because you see all the people in the Bible, they would meet, and then comes this guy who's coming 600 years later.
Can we establish...
He's never even met God.
Sure.
And then,
can we establish point by point, right?
So that,
because we're moving away from several points.
Is an important criteria.
Sure. Yeah. The criteria I'm laying down, remember, the criteria I'm laying down is something that I'm asking you, do you agree with them? You agreed.
Yeah.
So, and you brought forth further criteria. We can address those criteria.
Do you agree with that?
One second.
One criteria is to me.
According to our Islamic tradition, our Prophet ﷺ, yes, he went and he spoke to God directly.
Muhammad spoke to God?
Yes.
He met God?
Yes. Yes. So you didn't know that. So the criteria is already met.
Where is that written? Where?
In our traditions.
Oh, where? Which book?
The traditions of Isra and Mi'raj.
Where?
Is called.
Can you show me where?
Bear with me.
You can show me, because I don't think you can show me.
Bear with me.
That Muhammad met directly. You just told me that Muhammad met directly with God, and he met personally with God.
Yeah.
Then Muhammad talked to God like a person to person. That's what you just told me.
Yes.
Can you show me?
Sure. Of course we can.
Show me.
I'm just saying we can. So relax.
Where?
If I'm about to give you, don't say where. I can understand that you have not come across this because perhaps your knowledge about Islam isn't to that level yet. No problem. I am saying this event is known as Isra and Mi'raj in our Islamic tradition. Isra refers to the travel from Mecca to Jerusalem, and the Mi'raj refers to from Bayt al-Maqdis, Masjid al-Aqsa, from Jerusalem to the farthest heaven. That is called Mi'raj, ascending to heaven. Now at one point, even the angel Gabriel, who was accompanying him, he says, I cannot go any further. Now you go alone. So the Prophet goes alone, and then he passed the Sidratul Muntaha, the last, what we call the boundaries of everything that you can have beyond the seven heavens, and then he meets God. What we say is, there is a veil in between God and the Prophet. Veil, yes? So God speaks behind the veil. Some of our traditions say, yes, God, he sees his Lord, and others says, no, he didn't see his Lord, it is this veil. So if I were to even show up now, look, open up anywhere, Mi'raj.
So you went all the way up to the heaven.
Look. I'm giving you evidence, right?
It's your traditions also say, by your own traditions, Muhammad, when he got the first revelation, he didn't even know.
Sorry.
He didn't even.
Could we discuss one point at a time?
If it was an angel.
It seems like.
Or if it was the devil.
No. It seems.
He didn't even know.
Excuse me.
It seems. For me, I think that's strange.
No.
I find it very odd and very strange.
Look.
And for you then telling me that was a personal relationship with God, when Muhammad even himself did not understand, that's really strange.
Look,
I find that really strange.
Brother, one moment.
Okay.
What
we need to know. Excuse me. He's going to listen to me. Thank you, brother. What seems to be happening is you asked one question, and on the backbone of that question, we have several other peripheral questions. Now, it is only important to keep the original question in mind.
Evidence.
And the question about prophethood. How is he a prophet of God? What evidence? Remember what we talked about? So I said, I will entertain the question that you asked about this young marriage and also about warfare that you brought along. What has warfare to do with evidence? I will ask. Didn't Moses fight wars? Does that stop him from being a prophet? No, it doesn't. So this is really totally irrelevant.
The
point
is
that was made.
Brought up that the evidence is his character.
Listen.
So if you're not saying that, I don't want any evidence which has to do with character at all.
If you want to maintain the continuity, so as I said, two things. One is the evidence that God places on the Prophet for the proof of prophethood.
What evidence?
That's what I'm giving you yet.
Yeah, can you tell us?
Yeah. But I asked you about the characters. So you agreed it's important to have the characters to be in place, truthful and trustworthy. So I'm just going to tell you that, and I've affirmed to you, he was known as Sadiq al-Amin. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was known as the most trustworthy, most truthful by his own people. So that's already attested by the community. Now, what evidence did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have? So remind me about ascensions and Mi'raj, because it seems to like we cannot just go into every question. Focus on the main, and we will touch on the peripheries as we need. Right. Go ahead. Say and then we come back.
No, but I want to say, but you said that, but he was illiterate though. He couldn't read or write. So how could he have like preached the verses, the revelations?
Okay.
When he was he couldn't read or write.
Very nice question. Now, do you speak Arabic?
I can't speak Arabic.
Right. Let's say you don't speak Arabic from his own admission. I'm going to give you 2-3 words. See if you can convey that 3 words to the people, because that is based on your illiteracy of Arabic language. Yeah? قل هو الله أحد. قل هو الله أحد. Now it means say Allah is one. Now can you convey that message? قل, say to them, قل هو الله أحد. Now,
But this isn't evidence.
wait, were you able to convey this message to the people who may know Arabic, like I know Arabic, you may know Arabic, he may know Arabic, and we've understood? Even you not knowing even the basic letters of Arabic alphabet, you were able to convey it. Do you see? Just being literate in this form of someone who writes it doesn't make them unable or not able to convey the message. For example, the disciples of Jesus Christ, we know they are ordinary fishermen. They are not literate people. They didn't write and compose the Gospels. Yet they conveyed the message. And it was written down by other people. So it doesn't stop them. Now, about the prophet's proof of his prophethood. So we say God gave him so many evidence for his prophethood. They come in the form of miracles which cannot be replicated. Miracles which cannot be imitated. Like there are more than 300 authenticated miracles of the Prophet. How many have you heard of the miracles of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? From your reading, this is just to tell me that how much you've read.
Do you have
How
any
many?
evidence of that, for that? Do you have any
I know
evidence
miracle.
for the miracles?
In our tradition, there are more than 300 authenticated miracles of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Can I say something? Can I say
Brother, just 1 second, you will. How many have you heard about the authenticated miracles of Prophet Muhammad?
I know a miracle. Should I say miracle?
No, before you say that,
Go ahead.
No, like for example, they said that Muhammad split the moon in half. That's one of the Prophet Muhammad split the moon.
yeah. So in our tradition, this is one of them. Now, this is one of them. That Prophet split the moon. So now we know that you've heard one.
I've heard of one.
How many others have you heard of out of the 300 authenticated means they are sound to us? There are many, more than 300.
But it's for me, like if I want to believe something, I really need good evidence. I can't believe in anything.
Good evidence means
I know what
evidence of
Yeah.
his actions of miracles.
Can I say something?
Like I can't believe in anything.
You said
Like,
that,
I need really good evidence.
You said that Muhammad did 300 miracles. Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
Authenticated.
But why is it not in the Quran like the way Jesus did miracles in the Quran?
Yeah.
How come they didn't write those miracles?
One second.
in the Quran like they did
No,
with
the
Jesus?
Quran says that people, they don't normally want to believe in signs of God. Yeah? But the Quran gives signs after signs and they turn away. Quran talks about the splitting of the moon, but the Quran talks about the Quran itself as the most self-evident, eternal, everlasting miracle. And this is the most important miracle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, I want to ask you about this. Jesus Christ, you know Jesus Christ in Christianity. What miracles did he perform according to what people asked?
In the Bible.
People asked for miracles. What miracle did he perform in their demands?
Like in the Bible.
In the Bible.
In the Bible, he said that he turned water into
No. People demanded miracles.
Demanded.
And he answered them. What miracles did he perform based on their demands? He said, no sign shall be given to you except. So he didn't give anything. He gave no miracles. So now we have a bigger problem in the Christian tradition, except one, which is the sign of Jonah, right? So he did not perform any miracles on demand, as people are asking. So coming back to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Quran is the eternal, everlasting, most important miracle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why do I say that? Because the Quran itself challenges people. If you don't believe that Prophet Muhammad, his slave, is the one that God gave the Quran to, sent the Quran down to, what people have to do is produce a single chapter like the Quran. If they're not able to do that themselves, like you don't know Arabic for example, you can seek your helpers and your witnesses to do that job besides God. If you cannot do that, and the Quran says you will not be able to do that, then fear the fire of hell, whose fuel is man and stones. So God has been challenging people to bring a surah, a chapter like unto the Quran.
Can I ask something? What is the purpose? What is the meaning with the Quran? Where are we going? Why is the
What's
Quran?
the purpose of Islam?
Yeah, what is it?
Instructions.
The Quran
After
is
that, where are we going?
the Quran is the final guidance from God, telling you why you are here,
So why are you?
why you
Why
came
are we
from.
here?
Why are we here? Why are we here?
One second.
Why are we here?
Remember, the question is asked, the background we shouldn't forget. What makes the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam a prophet? If you now somehow turn this question into what is the prime message of the Quran, I'm willing to entertain that. But let's focus on the original question. What makes the Prophet Muhammad a prophet of God?
Can you just define for me? For me, like I told you, if I am gonna believe something, I need it to be logical, coherent.
Oh, thank you for reminding me that.
And I want
come back
it to
this
be.
point.
I want it to be. You have to
Yes.
be verified with truth. And tested
sure.
by truth and all these things.
Logical
And
coherence.
Yeah, logical coherence is for me important. I can't just believe in anything.
Very good.
It's like I need.
So this is just a translation?
I need.
Agree.
I need evidence.
Yeah. So logical coherence. Let's start with some logical coherence of the Quran. The Quran talks about God. Say he is God, the one. God, the eternally besought of all. He begets not, nor was begotten, and there is none comparable to him. Let me establish to you the logical and the rational coherence of this small chapter called Surah Al-Ikhlas, chapter 112 of the Quran.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
the Quran says God is one.
yeah, he's
And
one.
wait.
He's
One-
singularity, right? Singularity.
Sorry, if you allow me to establish
No,
the
it's
Quranic,
just a conversation,
the coherence of that.
Yeah, yes.
He is one and only. That's the word ahad is one of its own.
Yeah, one.
and only.
Yes.
Unique.
Okay.
Eternally besought of all. Someone who is totally independent and everything depends on him. He is absolute independent.
So he.
Being one, being absolute and independent means he is not dependent on his life for anyone. Like he doesn't have a father or a lineage or forefathers or parents.
He's internal.
And being one and unique and absolute, neither does he have any need for begetting or producing, siring, creating, generating an offspring from him. So he has no sons and daughters or children.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry. If you allow me to elaborate. If you are one and only, if you are unique and absolute, you have to be independent. You cannot be a father of.
What do you mean by absolute? He can't be absolute. He lacks certain abilities.
I'll tell you why he's absolute.
He lacks the.
One moment.
For example, he can't be loving.
If you allow me.
He can't be love in itself.
If you allow me, I will establish that. Remind me about love, right?
There's a lot.
Remind me about love, right? So, to finish this coherence of this surah,